Right, it's the end of the season. I'm going to take the black and backhand rubber off. And what we can do is during this recording, we can see how it's fared. So excuse the old plastic bag that protects the rubber. And I only lightly applied it last night after I finished my match. So normally this side is quite tacky, and the reason why I use a plastic bag is to get a relative airtight seal versus this side which isn't tacky. You don't get that relative airtight seal. Right, so this is the let's go with some light. So this is on the Black Knight blade I bought just after Christmas. Plays really well. Varnished it, which I've done in a previous video. So now we're going to peel it. We're just going to remove the edging tape. And because I've varnished the blade, you'll see how easy it is to peel. Are you ready? That's it. So there's no wood fibre damage. There's a line there, but that's only because that's where I glued, and that's where the rubber had glued on, and the rest of it is just where you've got the exposed wood. I'm just going to rub off bits of glue there. That's great. So quick dry satin varnish. There's next to no damage around the edge of the blade. And there's only one bash there. But otherwise, it's great. The blade XVT Black Knight. I think I bought it. Shipping costs included, less than 15 UK pounds. 7-ply 2 carbon layer blade. And that is going on to my practice serving bat because it started to bubble up in the middle. Right, so I'm going to pause that. I'm going to get another rubber I'm going to replace it with, and then we'll glue it on. Right, I'm just removing the old glue from an old sheet, but I just wanted to highlight something. I'll show you something. People have asked, what's the point of varnishing? Right? If you don't varnish, when you remove a rubber from a blade, what can happen is, let's see if there's the best angle for this. Right, see those vertical lines? Let's see. See those vertical lines? They're the imprints of the grain from a bat that this rubber came off. Right. And what you can't tell, what's hard to show, is potentially this grain from the wood previously, it might actually contain wood fibres. Maybe, maybe not. Hard to say. But anyway, there's definitely a texture on it. What that means is, I have to remove this glue layer because this is now not even. Whereas on this rubber that I've removed, even though there's dents in it, like bits of sponge missing, the actual surface is really smooth. So I could re-glue over the top of this and put another layer on if I needed to quickly re-glue this. Whereas this, it's already got a texture on it now, which makes it a bit, well, it means I need to take the glue layer off before I reuse the rubber. So it takes more time, which is just annoying. Right, so what feels like forever, got the glue off, right? I mean, like, the rubber's okay condition, there's still a couple of marks on it. The way that when you try and rub the glue off, if you push down too much, it then picks up some of the rubber. The sponge, but anyway, this one's gone. Put this one, put that to one side. So now, how do we prep? There's no prep. Just make sure it's clean.
A few moments later, a few minutes later, a few inches later, 12 seconds later, 3 days later, 3 weeks later, many months later, 6.5 hours later.
So the glue that I'm using is just some general AliExpress one. This is whatever that is. The number that's got on it is 7011. Does that help? That's a Yi and He on it. Anyway. Right, so I'm going to do probably 2 or 3 layers on the rubber, and then 1 or 2 on the blade. I'm going to put the mouse there, you'll see that it domes. It should dome. Right. So you don't lash it on, you put enough. Right. So I'm going to go relatively quickly on this. So I generally do the outside first to make sure that I've not missed, and then I do it in one direction, which is from the handle to the end, and then sideways, so you can see it's drying already on the end there, and finally another quick pass, and that's it. Leave it up, and that'll dry in a minute. So that looks wet. Get some more. It'll dry. The glue on the blade will dry really quickly. I can see it from here, it's already going off. And next, start off on this. Probably going to need a bit more, because now there's no glue on the sponge, which means it's going to drink whatever product I put on it. Yeah, very much like dry plaster. I'm going to use this, put that on there. This is drinking it up. So my glue, this glue that I bought from AliExpress, is water based. It's got no it has not got VOCs in it. VOC, volatile organic compound, or whatever it is. And you can see, because the sponge is drinking the glue, absorbing the glue, beginning to dome as it expands. So I think this is the second layer. Should I let it dry in between each layers? Yes. I'm just trying to achieve an even coating before I stop. That feels about right. So a bit here. A bit on this corner, edge even. Another, set even up in the middle and let it just chill for a bit. So this glue goes off really quickly. It's not like the ones where you use speed booster and you've got to wait 12 to 24 hours. So while I was applying the glue on the rubber, right, let's have a look at this close up for that. That looks wet, right, just like it did on the blade. And however long that took, the stuff on the blade now is dry. Or it's not, it looks shiny, but it's not wet like the one on the rubber. Okay, so this is glossy and wet, and this is, it just looks like a blade from my perspective. So it just looks like a dry wood. So I'm going to get this torch. Don't think that's helping. That's just it. It's just got the sheen of the glue, but it's it doesn't look wet. So I'm going to leave this rubber up there to carry on drying and the doming. I'm going to do one more layer, quick layer on the blade, and then I'll be done there. So handle to tip, do the edge first, that way you know you've done it. Now handle to tip, edge needed a bit, handle to tip, good, sideways, good, handle to tip. Leave that. Now let's look at the rubber. Look, that's not shiny anymore. That's quick, yeah. The room that I'm in is 21 degrees, so it's not. So it's just like home office temperature. The radiator down there is not on, right? So it's just, that's gone really domey, because the product has been absorbed into the sponge. Let me correct this. Right, go again. So that's 2 on there, 1 on there. Do the edges first. I'm struggling. See if we can get this flat on there, that's better. Move that out of the way. That's done. This is half dry, half wet, so it's wet in the middle and it's dry this bit, and it's dry the top end bit. So probably going to try and waft this dry, and I'll speed up the video. Actually, it wasn't too bad. Right, so I've just noticed as I've laid it on, can you see there's lines where I left the glue, so that's not ideal, but let's continue anyway. While that's there, I need to go and get a roller because I'm almost ready to apply the rubber to the blade. So that's now dried. In a minute or so I've gone down to the kitchen to get my roller, which is just a bog standard stainless steel bottle. Nothing special about that. To rest the rubber on, but I'm not. Right, the rubber. The rubber is ready for its final glue. So I've seen online that Chinese players put on 7 layers of glue. I'm not doing that. 3's enough. As you can see, I'm struggling enough as it is with 3 layers of glue. Just lie down. Well, that's the trick. Push it down with a brush. That way it'll behave a bit. Do. How many's out of 3 layers? So look at this. Let's put it on there. Let everyone have a look. Glossy, wet. It's got some trom lines in it, but that's just because of the brush mark. I want to go around the top. This is ridiculous how much it's domed. Right, so I need to wait for that to stop looking glossy and wet, which won't take long. So the last bit is, because it's domed that much, there's a challenge of keeping the thing flat when you roll it on. What you need to do is find something to rest the bat on. So I've got at least this part here, so that I can place the bat on this plastic bit, which raises it a little bit. When I put the rubber onto the blade, I'll then put this plastic piece on top of the rubber, roll it on, roll the rubber on, then put this piece on top of the rubber once it's on, and then you need to clamp it shut. So just get a couple of heavy books and flatten it. Make sure that the books are the size of the rubber, bigger than the rubber. And that way the weight on the blade will keep it flat, and then leave it a few hours for the rubber to properly stick, and then go off and test it. So let's have a look, see how this is, because you obviously want to see how well or poorly I can apply the rubber onto the blade. Let's give it a final waft. That's insane. Isn't that domey compared to the start? So this is, I think, guess what it looked like before. This is the old one that I pulled off the bat. Right. Let's see. Yeah. Let's go. Let's just give it a go. Right, so the idea is, nice, you put it on, try to centre it in the middle. Before I put it on, I'll show you on the other one. Use the butterfly mark or whatever is the middle of the rubber, line it up with the blade, and then roll it on. So I'm going to grab that to hand. It's wet. Don't want it wet. Not that it'll be the end of the world, but I don't want it wet. Then roll this on. I'll put this torch on. Ooh. Try to stick down, don't stick down yet. Moment of truth. Have I lined it up? It feels okay. Right, so now, because of the sponge was curling, pay attention to rolling around the edge. You don't want bubbles in the middle of the bat, and you don't want bubbles at the edge because it will lift off when you're playing. So this second hand rubber is really long, which is fine. I've actually made a gap. So it's not ideal, but we'll deal with it. Right, so there's a gap just there. So what's that? 2mm gap. We continue. That's it, son. Look at that. Massive overhang. Might have to address that. I will address that. Right, so that is huge overhang. So what I'm going to do, like I've done for them before, I'm going to grab a scalpel, take a chunk out of it. I'm going to re-glue this and sink it further down into the blade. But that's how you glue a bat. So I mean, besides, I could trim it off. That's another option. Maybe you should do that. I should have the ghetto look, where it looks notched and looks cheap and rubbish. But that's it, that's done. Finished.